Hello, and greetings from the Nutrilite Health Institute. My name is Allison Zolnay, and I am a scientist with the Nutrilite Health Institute. I'm here today to talk about omega-3 fatty acids and the role of health that they play for your body. When we take a look at fats, we see that a majority of the fats that are found in your body are known and stored as triglycerides. These stored fats in your body play significant functional roles for you. The fat that is stored underneath the skin layer serves to give us and provide us warmth for our body. We also know that there are fat pads that surround our vital internal organs, such as our kidney and liver. These help to protect these organs and help them to function properly. We also know that fat helps our body to utilize carbohydrates and proteins more effectively. These fat molecules help to bind to carbohydrates so they are utilized. And in doing so, they help to free up proteins so they can serve more of a functional role and structural role in our body. When we take a look at the history of omega-3 fatty acids, we see that a majority of the research was started in 1923. This is when researchers discovered that these fatty acids are vital and essential for our health. In doing their research, they fed rats a diet that was lacking in these omega-3 fatty acids. And what they saw is that these rats came up with significant signs of deficiency. The man who was working on these omega-3 fatty acid research was also working on research on vitamin A at the same time. So initially, he called omega-3 fatty acids vitamin F because they had significant functioning in our body. By the 1930s, what scientists have discovered is that there were two distinct and separate fatty acids, omega-3 and omega-6. And these two fatty acids served significant different functions in our body. By the 1980s, we see that there were significant diet studies that were conducted and observational studies that showed the differences in fat intake in their diet and how that related to their incidence of disease. We will take a specific look at one of these studies in our next slide. In 1982, the Nobel Prize was awarded to the man who helped to define these significant deficiency symptoms that are seen when a diet is lacking in fatty acids. From the 1990s to the present, we see that there have been a significant amount of research that has been conducted in conjunction with heart and mental health in relationship to the intake of fatty acids in your diet. We see in this study one of the first studies that was conducted on omega-3 fatty acids. What we see is they took a group of Eskimos who were living in their native land, and they saw that only 3 out of this group suffered from a heart attack. We see that when this group of people was moved over to Copenhagen, Denmark, we see that this group had a significant increase in the amount of heart attacks, bumping them up to 40 in their group. As you can see, there are significant differences between the intakes of omega-6s and omega-3s in the diet, with the Danish diet being significantly higher in omega-6 and the Eskimo diet being significantly higher in the omega-3 fatty acids. When we take a look at the role of omega-3s in our diets, what we see is that they are essential to human health, meaning that our body makes a little bit of these fatty acids on our own, but we do not make enough to functionally serve us in a physiological role, meaning that we need to get these fatty acids from the food and the supplements that we intake into our diet. The fatty acids help to maintain the structural part of the cell, and we will see how different fats impact that in a few slides. We also know that fats are essential in helping to make a hormone-like substance called eicosanoids. These eicosanoids are essential for inflammation, heart disease, and making our blood stick together. What we see is that in talking about these omega-3s, we have significantly different pathways between the omega-3 and the omega-6, as it was defined in the 1930s. What we see is that if you intake omega-6 into your diet, you will not get the benefits or the results as if you were intaking omega-3 fatty acids into your diet. There is a chain, a pathway that we can see where starting fatty acids can be converted into other fatty acids. And as we will examine later, the benefits that these final fatty acids on the omega-3 side play to our health. We see that the first starting omega-6 fatty acid is this linoleic acid. What we see is that we primarily obtain this fatty acid through our diet through the consumption of vegetable oils and meats. This is the fatty acid, when taken in high amounts in our diet, that has been attributed to the increased risk for heart disease. We see with the linolenic acid, this is the primary starting omega-3 fatty acid. We see that through the conversion process, this linolenic acid is converted to two very beneficial fatty acids, eicosapentaenoic acid, or EPA, and also docosahexaenoic acid, or DHA. And these fatty acids we find primarily through vegetable oils in our diet. There are some significant factors that affect the conversion. If we start with linolenic acid in our diet, it can be converted to both EPA and DHA. But this conversion rate through research has been determined to only be about 5 to 15%. There are also significant other factors that help to influence this conversion. As we age, our conversion rate decreases. As we deal with illness and stress, we also see that our conversion rates significantly decrease. We also know that diets that are high in omega-6 fatty acids compete for the same enzymes that help to convert the omega-3 fatty acids. So in competing for these same enzymes, the omega-3 fatty acid conversion to EPA and DHA would be significantly lowered. Now, there are some properties of fatty acids that we are going to detail that may help you to identify some of these fatty acids in your kitchen. Some of the properties of fatty acids are the length, flexibility, and the shape. If we start with saturated fatty acids, what we see is that these are primarily being found in butter and animal oils. We know that the length of this molecule is very short. It does not have much flexibility, and the shape is that of a C, very curved. What we see with polyunsaturated fatty acids, or our next group, is we see that these are fatty acids that are much more beneficial to our health. These are the omega-3 fatty acids that we would like to incorporate as much as we can into our diet. They are very long, they are very flexible, and their shape is also very straight. When these fatty acids are incorporated into our cells, they serve us much better in helping our cells to get the nutrients and the water that they need for optimal functioning. We see with the omega-3 content of fish, that is one of the best ways that we can get these beneficial polyunsaturated fatty acids into our diet. Some of these best sources, as we see, is herring, salmon, and tuna. These will provide the highest amount of EPA DHA per ounce in our diet. There are fatty acid deficiencies. These are very rarely seen in our society today. When we do see it, it's normally accompanied with changes in cells. We see significant hair loss, skin scaliness. Some people suffer from infertility. There is a decrease in our capillary resistance, meaning that our nutrients and water cannot easily get in and out of our cells. There is impaired wound healing and also an increased chance of infection. There are dietary recommendations that are being made at this point in time. We see that the Indian Council of Medical Research recommends that about 3% of your total energy intake should be consumed through essential fatty acids. They do not specifically give at this point in time recommendations for EPA or DHA fatty acids. Some other countries have established specific recommendations for intake levels of EPA and DHA, and we see that in these countries such as Australia, Canada, and Sweden, that they are between 300 and 500 milligrams per day. There is one particular recommendation that I would like to detail out with you from the American Heart Association. This recommendation at this point in time is that all healthy people should intake at least 2 servings, 2 meals of fish per week. When we start to take a look at people that may be documented with heart disease, it is recommended that they consume at least 1 gram of EPA DHA per day. Patients that need significant triglyceride lowering are encouraged to consume at least 2 to 4 grams of EPA DHA per day. Now when we take a look at these fatty acids, I just want to thank you very much, and I want to send health and good wishes from the Nutrilite Health Institute. Thank you.